Hey guys, just wondering what you think of this idea. So I think a week or so ago, I put up a tutorial showing how to create HTML tables just using the Bricks UI and changing the elements to their DOM elements, TRs, THs, etc. Um, I wanted to look at something different. I've got a bunch of existing HTML tables in another site, and I wanted to translate those across to Bricks, and I was looking at a way to do that without having to rebuild them all using elements. So here, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. Here's an example where I've just got a rich text box. I've chucked a HTML table in there. The only thing I've changed is I've renamed these classes. So I'm using my standard B for Bricks. Standard BEM modifier here, standard BEM head, standard BEM modifier there, element there. So just standard BEM naming that I've come accustomed to now. And then just want to style this up using Bricks. Now, something cool here that I didn't really think about is if we look at our table class here, that's pretty obvious. On our table class, there's some CSS because we can't do a border collapse in the UI. There is no feature for that. And I want to set the default padding for my TRs and TDs. Sorry, my THs and TDs. I'm using my own framework here, so it's a size small, which I think is 10 pixels. So basically just setting some defaults for the table. Then what I wanted to look at is how do I target the TRs and THs, and I could simply do this on the root element, and I could set my border, set my background, all that sort of stuff here, and put it all on this one root class here. Someone mentioned a bit of a hack, an undocumented hack. I can't remember who it was in the Bricks community with these pseudo classes. And one of the things you can't do here, for example, is I can't create a table here and do a B table and then have a TR. That doesn't work. Bricks just doesn't understand that I want to have a sub selector for the TR. It just doesn't work. But with the pseudo elements up here, you can create a pseudo element. Now, by default, even if I just type the word, type in here space TR, what that actually creates is a pseudo element with the colon TR, which is not what I'm looking for. So can't use it in that way. So a workaround I've done is using the not pseudo selector with a bogus class that doesn't exist, and then targeting the TD as an element, sub-element of that, and TH. So what this does, it allows us to, from the Bricks UI, I can style my TDs with box shadows, borders, backgrounds, all that sort of stuff. If I look at the TH, for example, I've got my topography in here, and I've told it to align it to the left. By default, THs are aligned in the center. And I've told it to set the background to my my accent variation. Strange thing that happens when you start playing in here, this all messes up. And I've told it to set my border to this white, almost white color. Now, when I click out of there, it does correct itself. So the cool thing of doing it this way, using these, using the standard Bricks table, standard Bricks class system here, and then creating a bogus pseudo element for not a class, you can actually have any element after that you can style. So that's the option I've gone with. So in this case, I've set my TDs to just have basically a border of one with this grey, and with my THs, change my topography, change my background, and change the border. So I think it's a really interesting way of doing it. Now, not 100% convinced yet, because maybe if you do it in the custom CSS here, it is pretty obvious what you've done. So using that 3-month rule of Kevin Gary's, if I come back to this in 3 months' time, am I going to remember that I use these bogus pseudo elements to target the TD and the TH? Or should I be naming this a little bit differently? So for example, should I be creating a separate class here and calling it, you know, I don't know, what would you call it? Child, something like that. So if I, for example, created this, if I went B table and then created an element, or maybe pseudo, maybe as a reminder that I've got pseudo classes on there. So if I go pseudo, then what I'll do actually is I'll take on my B table here, I'm going to take this, I'm going to reset these. I've got no background, no box shadow on my TDs. I'm going to then do my THs. I'm going to take the topography, background, box shadows off that. So what I end up with is a plain old table with standard HTML. I've actually got a modifier here to stripe it. A plain old HTML table with the default settings. So now if I use my pseudo and use the bogus TH, my topography, I want to align that left. My background, I want to set that to the secondary, my accent variation. And for my border, set that to a 1 pixel solid, and we'll make that color maybe this sort of gray here. That'll do. All right, and then I'm going to look at my TDs, and I think all I need to do on my TDs for the pseudo is change my border to be a 1 pixel solid, and we'll use like a gray color like this. So if I hit save on that, has it worked? Yes, it has. So it doesn't update straight away in the editor, but it does actually work. So now what I have here is I've got THs and TDs styled from my Bricks UI. So I think that's actually a pretty good way of doing it. I think the trick here is in the naming. So if you go into here, if I just use these bogus pseudo elements here to target a child selector, and I put it on this B table here, 3 months time, I'm going to come back and I'm going to forget that I put them on there, and I'm not going to remember to go up here and look at these. But I think if I have a standard where if I want to put anything on bogus pseudos, I'll create an element for pseudo, so saying I want to target elements that are bogus pseudos. There we go. Anyway, that's an idea. Either way, it works. I like this idea because it keeps it clean, and it uses Kevin's 3-month rule of for some reason, maybe, you know what it is. It's because I'm zoomed. I keep forgetting that. You're getting these weird borders because I'm zoomed. If I go 100%, then I've got 1 pixel borders, everything's styled properly, all of the styling for the headers, the TDs, the modifier for the table rows is done in the table here. I've got a modifier for striped, and then in my CSS, where is my stripe coming from? Keep forgetting you got to disable your pseudos. So you'd always, what the trick is, you've always got to look at both the orange selected table and the orange for the selected pseudo element, so you don't get confused about where you're actually applying this. But here's on my modifier for stripe table, targeting the T-body, TR, nth of type even, and setting a transparent white, in this case because I've got a dark background. So I think it's okay. What do you think? I think as long as we keep our naming right and keep it obvious, so we can come back to this later and go, okay, we know what we've done. If we try and put those pseudos on just this table here, it's not going to be obvious, so you really should create an extra element. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feedback would be great. So let me know in either the Bricks community, where I'm going to post a comment on this, or in the YouTube channel. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know. Thank you.